Okay, so I just wanted to go ahead and share some key ideas that we should be recognizing as we went through part one and answered these questions. Some of the things that I noticed is that we were constantly asked about the time that something is occurring or the height given a specific time. Okay, and so again, key ideas, time of max height. And again, if I'm looking at a time component, I'm looking for an x value as my answer. Again, x value, because that's related to time, and of the vertex, because vertex is related to a maximum. Okay, so x value of the vertex. And again, I can use a formula to find the x value of the vertex if I don't have a graph. And so to do that, I do x equals negative b over 2a. And that helps us find the axis of symmetry. And so if I had a parabola graphed, remember here's the vertex at the top. That x coordinate of the vertex is related to that axis of symmetry that cuts through the middle of the graph. Sometimes I'm asked just to find the max height. And the max height is related to the y value of the vertex. Again, when I'm looking at the height of something, I'm looking at a y value. And again, maximum relates to vertex. So if I'm going to find the max height or the y of the vertex, then I need to have the x of the vertex to substitute. So I'm going to substitute the x of the vertex into my function and evaluate. So again, going back up to this graph, the y of the vertex would be that maximum height. Sometimes I'm asked to find an initial height or a starting value, I should say. I guess the outputs will not always be height, but an initial or a starting value. And when I'm asked to find an initial value or a starting value, I'm being asked to find a y-intercept. And remember, y-intercepts occur when the x coordinate is 0. And the y-intercept is always going to be the constant of the function when you're in that form, y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. The y-intercept is that c. When I substitute x with 0, the first two terms become 0. We noticed up top that sometimes we were asked to find a value at a given time. If I want to find a value at a given time, that means that I need to find I need to find y given x. Again, given x because x is that time, has time on the x-axis. So I'm asked to find a value and I know the time. That means I need to find y and I know the x. Okay, and again, in order to do that, I'm going to substitute the known x value into the function and evaluate to find y. Finally, I might be asked to find the time that the object reaches the ground. Another way that this is phrased is if I find the time, so I'm going to say or, the time I'm in the air, how long in the air. The time I reach the ground versus how long I'm in the air represent the same thing. Once I hit the ground, I'm no longer in the air, okay? And so either of these things could indicate that I need to find an x-intercept. Remember, for x-intercepts, the y is 0. which would make sense that the time I reach the ground, my height, right? My height is equal to 0, which is the y value. And in order to find x-intercepts, I have some options. One is that I could graph, and I could find the x-intercepts on the graph. I could factor, and after I factor, I set each of those factors equal to 0 and isolate x. Or I could do the quadratic formula, and the quadratic formula always works, whereas factoring does not always work. Okay, so we're going to use these general ideas to help us in our word problems determine what we are supposed to find using the information that is given.